My name is Anekan and I post lifestyle content, medical school content. I talk about medical school, and currently I'm doing a playlist on how to pass your second MBBS first professional exam. In this video, I'm going to be telling some of the textbooks website that I used that was very helpful to me and you should consider using. I'm just going to list some of the books I used and in order of courses, then we pick it up from there. Now, the first course is anatomy. For anatomy, I use Selective Anatomy by Vishram Singh. Please take note, I'm not talking about Vishram Singh's textbook of anatomy. I'm talking about Selective. There's another book that he did called Selective Anatomy by Vishram Singh. You can get some of these books from Telegram, to be honest with you, or maybe Z Library. Now, what this book does is that it takes, I don't know how to say, it is beautifully written. It's written in the form of a question and answer format, and it's divided into regions, right? So it takes like upper limb, what are the most commonly asked questions in upper limb, lower limb, what are the most commonly asked questions in lower limb. Then he answers it in a format that you are going to answer it in your theoretical exam. I read this book thoroughly and it really helps me because there is no question there's no question that they will bring out in theory that it is not explained in that book. And one of the things I love about that book, but it ties things beautifully together. We start with gross embryo histo. You do gross embryo histo. So they will start with explaining like macroscopic structure you can see with your naked eyes. Then it proceeds to the embryology, like the breast that like I like to use most of the time. You start with the gross anatomy of the breast, the position, its location, then the extent, then blood supply, then venous drainage, then nerve supply. Then when you're done talking about the breast and its parts, you now go into the embryology of the breast. Now in the embryology of the breast, we have things like the milk ridge line, yes, the milk ridge line and all of that. Then after that, you go to the histology of the breast, where you get to see the tissues itself, what forms the breast and why is it called a gland. So you get to see the glandular tissues. Now that is one thing with Selective Anatomy by Vishram Singh. Like I said, he ties things together beautifully well. Another thing that can help you is Teach Me Anatomy. Teach Me Anatomy is an app and also a website, so please utilize it. It does a beautiful work. Honestly, it takes part of anatomy and summarizes it into these brief summary chapters that you can read on commutes, maybe when you're going to school or any of those things. Like he does a beautiful, or they do a beautiful work on it. Another person is Ken Hub. Although Ken Hub content are usually paid for, but you have free access to the site in terms of the reading materials, so you can utilize his reading materials. He has beautiful illustration, but me, I'm a Teach Me Anatomy baby. I would rather read Teach Me Anatomy than Ken Hub, because Ken Hub can be very extensive and it's good, but like I said, I have exams. I can't be reading extensive. But Ken Hub sometimes has this summary table, so once I just look at the table and I find what I want, I'll just abandon the rest. But that is it with anatomy. Let me see if I'm forgetting any slides. Obviously your slides, your notes, like I said, for us we usually have extensive lecture notes, extensive slides, extensive materials from our lecturers. Reading that too also helps a lot. Definitely you have to read your lecturer's material, because sometimes that is where your questions are gonna come out from. Now for your physiology, I read Essential Physiology and Teach Me Physiology. I also read Teach Me Physiology. Teach Me Physiology is a beautifully written summary note, just that it can be quite extensive too. Now Essential Physiology, because I hated making notes, I don't used to make, I didn't like my preclinical years. That's why I say my method of learning was quite unique, and that was why when I watched Rena's video one time, and she did mention that she doesn't like taking notes like me, I felt very alive. I felt like I wasn't the only one. I hated writing. Anything that involves like writing, making notes, I don't want it. I don't like it. I rather read. I can read the material 5 times than to write it down. Like that saying that the faintest ink is more powerful than the sharpest mind, or something like that. Me, I choose to differ, because some of us, we don't like writing things down. But what that also cost is that I had to find a way to revise, honestly, and that was why I was using videos. But essential physiology, I also use essential physiology. What I did was I started reading like 3 months before that time. When immediately I got into tutorial level, I started. I think I started in January of this year, and my exam was in March. So I had time to go through some of the topics. And one of the things I did was I go through each system. If I'm in my hematology block or hematology system, that is the blood physiology, I ask myself, what are the commonly asked questions in this system? I'll start with reading up that first before I read up any other thing. So my first reading is to go through each system and read only the important things. For example, I know that for blood physiology, it is abominable not to know hemostasis, like stoppage of bleeding. It's also abominable not to know there are some conditions associated, like erythroblastosis fetalis. There are some unique conditions that are associated, like hemophilia. There are some things that you need to know in blood. Immunity. In blood, you have to know immunity. You have to know the humoral immunity. That is, first you have to know the innate and the acquired. You have to know the humoral immunity and even the cell-mediated immunity. You have to know there are some crops you need to know. You have to know the major histocompatibility, MCHC 1 and MCHC 2. How does it work? What are the T cells? What are the B cells? How do they operate? The B cells is usually by antibody production. The T now, they are the ones that directly, like we have the T killers, the killer T that directly kill bacteria. Then we have the T helper, then we have the T suppressors, then we have there are some, especially immunity. Don't joke with that chapter. Like when it now comes to there's this cascade, there's this complement system. You need to know complement system, how component 1, which is this C1A, and just basically all of those nitty-gritty, opsonization, lysis. You need to know those key things in blood. Then I know that for respiratory, you need to know the oxyhemoglobin curve. You need to know how oxygen and CO2 is being transported in the body. Then for renals, you need to know urine production. You need to know acidification of urine. You need to know concentration. Very important, concentration of urine, where we have the countercurrent mechanism, and the other one, you need to know buffer systems. You need to know just general the nephron. Then for endocrinology, you need to know there's some hormones. You need to know the one that are secreted from the anterior pituitary, the one that are stored in the posterior pituitary. You need to know each of them, their site of release, their site of storage, their mechanism of action, how it's being eliminated. You need to know some core things, even receptors. It's action. You don't joke endocrine with action, so they love actions. Then aside that, maybe repro, you need to know uterine cycle, ovarian cycle, all these cycles. Like when they say write on menstrual cycle as a whole, when they say you should write on the reproductive cycle, if they ask you to write on reproductive, you are going to write extensively. Ovarian, uterine, vaginal changes, so cervical changes, so you write breast changes, you write about each and every one of them. So what I did was, like I said, I go to each system, I ask myself, what are the important parts, what are the mostly asked based on my past questions that I've gone through. Then I start off with reading that first. Now, if you have lecture notes, lecture slides, your lecturer slides are very important too, because for us, we usually do a comprehensive test before the main one. So the comprehensive before the main MB. So the comprehensive test comprises of everything you have done, and it's like insanity. You're answering 100 questions from all the system. Well, it was a good tester, but that one, there's no 2 ways to prepare. But if you've not prepared since, you can't prepare for it anymore, because it is just too much of information. So your lecturer slides are definitely important. If you're not, please take note though. Now going into 400 level, I'm trying to teach myself how to write notes and when reading, because I don't like reading and writing. I find it very redundant. I find it not helpful. I find it quite counterproductive. Yeah, but I've come to the realization that these are what I would read when MB comes up next time, and I wouldn't have to go through the pain of reading textbooks or looking for summary textbooks. Or one of the things I did during my second MB was reading people's summary. Like, once the exam was okay, maybe the exam time is by 2:30, then the time, because they usually have break after the MCQ, I'll just be going through people's summary notes, people that have gone through that pain of summarizing their notes, because me, I never liked it. Then for biochemistry, I would recommend Prasad's. Some of these textbooks, it took me a lot of time to find it. Prasad textbooks of biochemistry. That book is straight up for MB. Like, it is written beautifully. It is written in outline. It goes straight to the point. What you should just write for any biochemist, and it will give you the mark. Like, they don't beat around the bush. Very straight up. Another one is Rebecca. I call it Rebecca something's textbook of biochemistry. But Rebecca and Prasad is more summarized, to be honest. It is more summarized. It's an Indian book. And if you notice, I'm not mentioning Vasudevan or the other ones. To be honest, I didn't even read that book, because our biochemistry lectures, they were very extensive. We had extensive slides and lecture material, so we did not have to like read textbooks like that. But if you are considering a textbook, you should consider Prasad's textbook of biochemistry. Like I said, it's a beautiful textbook, and it's a very, very beautiful textbook and well written. Yeah, those are some of the textbooks that I used for preparation for second MBA exams. I'm going to be doing another video where I talk about textbooks I use for the preclinical. That one, now you'll see an extensive list of all the textbooks I read, because I read so many textbooks. Textbooks are meant to be treated like resources. You should not be overly committed to one textbook, which is what I did, I noted since, honestly. So I'm going to do a different video where I talk about all the textbooks. If you're interested in that, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below of the videos that you would like to see. Until next time, guys, bye.